Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Kasi Vishwanathan Ramanathan, a servant leader practicing Agile and Scrum for the last 8 plus years. I have overall 17 plus years of experience in IT and IT enabled services. In this journey, I got a chance to work in a variety of products like insurance, banking, finance, retail, and health industries. So I was glad to be part of larger transformation projects as well with multinational companies and across globe. I'm working with Tata Consultancies and currently deputed in UK and living with my family. I got two kids and my wife who are my strength and motivating factors to go above and beyond my potentials. I would like to thank APGI and UVCT for providing me the platform to share my knowledge and experience with you all. So looking forward to have a great conversation. Welcome all. Let me share my screen. Just a second. Hope you are able to see my screen.
Yep.
Great. Okay, so let's begin with a conversation. Let's see the conversation happening between a son and dad. Okay, father gives a bowl of grapes to his son, and his son complains that it is too much for him to eat. Okay, so then the father says that okay, Cham, just eat uh, half of it. This is a pretty straightforward conversation, right? So what can go wrong here, right? So this is what happened. So son literally followed his father's instruction and was eating half portion of each grape. So when the conversations, like very simple conversations, can be easily misinterpreted, uh, think how much it would be really challenging for 100 page, with a 100 page requirement document, development team to deliver a software out of it. So imagine how much challenging it would be. If the requirements are written down, it doesn't mean that the user will get what they want, but they will get definitely what was written. So to overcome these challenges between the business and the development teams, in 1998, Alistair Cockburn, he coined this phrase: "User story is a promise for conversation." He did this for his Chrysler Comprehensive Compensation project. Basically, his idea is to shift the focus from writing to talking. In 1999, our Kent Beck, who is one of the founders of Extreme Programming, again, Extreme Programming is another framework under Agile umbrella. Um, this was originated there. So the user story, he introduced that in his planning game in Extreme Programming. Later, this user story concept was adopted in other methodologies like Scrum, which is mostly widely used framework in these modern days. So if you want to know more about Agile and Scrum, we have a dedicated session for that, and Sundar or Sri would be sharing those details at the end of the session. Right. Let's get into the business. So in the next 1 hour, I would like to take you all through the life cycle of the user story with some exercise so that you will get the experience and feel. We would start with the flow of requirements here and see where the user story fits in the product backlog. Then would continue to see the key elements using this 3C formula and how the user story should be constructed. We'll do an exercise to learn the user story mapping. It is a technique to prioritize your requirements. And also we will learn how to split the user stories if it is larger. So we have an interesting technique called spider, and how we estimate the user stories. And finally, we will see some uh, user story templates. So if you have any questions, please park it, and I will definitely discuss in the at the end of the session. Right. So let's start with this thing. Can anyone unmute your line and let me know why are we creating a software or IT product? Feel free to unmute your line. Why are we creating softwares? Anyone?
To me, it's probably user demand.
Mhm. right? Okay,
For me, it's making the complex and difficult tasks easier and getting the things done efficiently and quickly.
right, absolutely. Any
To
more?
provide something online so everyone can collaborate instead of manual processes.
Great, right? So, yeah, all are right, absolutely. So, in order to make our life easy and to achieve the business goals, basically we create the software or IT products, right? So, the business objective or the idea or vision of the product is the starting point of a requirement. So, if you could see this hierarchy map, I've put the idea or vision. So, that's where the requirement starts. So generally, idea vision would be a very high level statement with which you wouldn't be able to develop a software out of it because it would have a lot of uncertainties and you will not have enough details to build a software from just with that vision statement. So what we do is we start decomposing that vision statement into themes, and then further we decompose that to epics and epics to user stories and tasks. So this is the flow of a requirement. So let's take an example to understand or visualize what in real world a theme or epic or a user story or task would be, right? So let's take the banking example. So my idea or vision to create an online banking product is, in this pandemic situation, I want customers to manage their money without having to step foot in a bank branch. This is a very high level statement for a development team to pick and develop a software. So what we are going to do is we are going to break this into further into themes. So if you see my idea or vision is creating an online banking. So under themes, what I'm doing is themes are nothing but group of very high level requirements again through which my vision is accomplished. So teams would address the various components in the product. In my say for example online banking product, it would align with this in line with the business. So in this banking example, as a consumer bank, I offer multiple products to my customers. Say, for example, savings account, credit account, loan account, demat account, or maybe like making your bill payment or IT tax, everything. So all these are all different themes. Now, again, we are not going to create software out of it because you need to further break this into epics. So uh, each theme may have multiple epics. If you look into this manage my fund, um, manage my accounts theme, you can have n number of uh, you know epics. Like if you want to manage your savings account as a customer, what you will do? So you will check the balance. What is your balance? You will see the transactions, list of transactions that you did. You download the historical statements, or you can do a fund transfer, etc., etc. So all these are termed as epics. Again, this may be a larger requirement which the development team wouldn't be able to deliver within a sprint timeline. So what we are doing is we are breaking this further into user stories or features which should be small enough so that you can deliver within a sprint timeline. So stories would be like, let's take this fund transfer epic. We uh, we need to add the following features, like say for example, I if I need to do a fund transfer, I need to add a beneficiary. I can transfer within my own account, I can transfer within the same bank, but for a different customer, I can transfer funds to a different bank. So these are all different features which you can term it as an user story. And finally, tasks. Tasks are basically nothing but a technical information or notes for the development team to implement the story or a future as a working software. Here, the tasks can be like, I want to create a page to capture the request. If I want to do adding a beneficiary, I need to have a UI with some fields in it where I need to, enter the values, and that I need to create an API to process this request or integrate with the backend, and I need to create a DB to manage, maintain the data. So all these can be considered as task, which the development team would be doing it in order to implement the Fuser story. So this is the flow of requirements from a vision to a task level. So now we have seen like where user story basically fits in this product backlog. So from idea till task, idea till user story is a product backlog. And now you have seen like where the user story fits in the product backlog, right? Okay. So now we have seen the history and the requirements hierarchy. Let's see this how the user story evolves basically. Okay. Ron Jeffrey, he's one of the three founders of Extreme Programming. He came up with this concept called 3C: card, conversation, and confirmation. So we write a quick description of the future on a card, uh, talked it through with our Scrum team, then create concrete testable examples to confirm that the future what we develop meets the expectation. Right. This is the idea behind a 3C. So let's see what a card holds, what conversation means, and what confirmation is. So card is nothing but, as you see in this image, card is nothing but a smaller physical, like a sticky notes or a post-it, where you add a brief note about what you want to implement. It will hold just enough information which will enable the team to get into conversation mode with the product owners or maybe within the team themselves. uh, a physical card would work if you are a co-located team. Now in this situation, we all are working remotely. So like for a distributed teams, you have a online tool you can use like a Jira, uh, through which you can create and maintain your user stories. And this card user stories are part of product backlog, would be written by either by the product owners or anyone from the business or BAs. So this is what card is all about. And now let's see the conversation. Uh, while we were discussing about on the background or the history of the user story, I told you like user stories are meant for shifting the focus from writing to talking, right? So that's where the conversation comes here. Conversations are more important than a written requirement to build a great product, because you will gain not only the product owner's view, but also the development team's view to implement a great product. Say I'm a developer, okay, and I'm picking up this card, add a beneficiary, for example, the development. So in order to implement it, I would need further information. So what I will do is I'll discuss with my POs and fellow team members to see what elements are required. So if I need to add a beneficiary, what are all the key elements that need to be there in the screen? So I need to capture the beneficiary name, I need to capture the account number, I need to capture the IFSC code or mandatory requirements that I need to add a beneficiary. So I'll be discussing this. What are all the key elements that are really mandatory for me to get this thing? So this is how conversation happens with the card. So the outcome of these conversations can be captured as a note, or if you have something like if you're drawing something as part of the conversation to your understanding, you can attach all these outcome to your card. If you're using an online tool like Jira, you have the comment section, and you can always attach supporting files you can attach to that user story. This is what a conversation means. And confirmation: once we all agree with the elements of the future or the user story we would be capturing, what we do is we will be capturing some test scenarios. Okay, now I understood, okay, what elements needs to be there in add beneficiary screen. So I need to basically come up with some test scenarios to ensure that whatever I have built is correct and will meet the business expectation. So what I will do is I'll capture some test scenarios which can be executed to confirm whether the expect whether we get the expected results or outcome. We term this as a acceptance criteria to confirm whether the story was implemented correctly. We have a technique called BDD. So BDD is nothing but behavior driven development. Um, maybe like if you can see in the slide, the format is like given, when, then structure. Given some precondition, when an action triggers or occurs, then some post condition. So let me give you some example. If we take our user story, transfer funds to other account, okay, this is an user story. I want to give you some test scenario against this user story. in this BDD format. So you can say that um, given um, I have $100 in my account, when I initiate the transfer for $200, then I should be told about my insufficient funds to make the transfer. So this is how the acceptance criteria from a BDD would look like. So this is all about 3C. So you will pick up the story from the product backlog, you converse with your Scrum team, and then you confirm the understanding, and then mark the user story as ready to play. Right. So let's let let's see a technique to identify how good is your user story. Right. So we call this as invest model. So I stands for independent. Um, so your user story is not having any dependency with any other stories at any point of time for you to implement. I'll be, you will be able to visualize this. I'll just introduce these terms to you, but anyway, we will be discussing this in the user story mapping. So maybe at that time you will be able to relate what I have told. So we'll do an exercise. So don't worry about it. So N stands for negotiable. So as I told, we write the user stories in Scott, which would lead to conversation. Basically, if your user story has all the details listed, then there is no room for negotiation, right? And V is valuable. Yeah. So that user story will add value to the existing product. So you're adding some increment to that product. It user story should add value, whatever user story you're writing. And E stands for estimable. So estimate, again, we will talk later how to estimate the user stories. And S stands for small. So user story should be very small in nature so that you will be able to complete within one iteration. And T stands for testable. Testable means we spoke, right? These acceptance criteria. You will be able to execute the test scenarios at once you're done with the story. Again, if you take add beneficiary as user story as an example, it is independent. You don't have any dependencies with other stories. It is negotiable as you have the card only with brief information and as part of a conversation, you would negotiate with the product owner on the options to implement. And certainly it is valuable because it is enabling you to do the fund transfer, and it is estimable and also small enough to complete within a sprint timeline. And we have seen an example with BDD, so it's definitely testable. So you would gain more knowledge or information once we are done with the user story mapping and splitting techniques. So let's jump into the user story mapping. Okay, so here what we can do is we can again come up with some example, see to understand uh, how generally the mapping happens. Okay, so as I told you, user story mapping is one technique for the product owners or the business to prioritize their backlog. Okay, right, prioritize the user stories. So um, let's take some example of creating an online food portal for our story mapping exercise. Assume that we own a pizza restaurant and we want to enable the customers to have their favorite food from our restaurant delivered at their doorstep. So this is our vision. Hope you all understand, right? So my vision is to deliver my food from my restaurant to the customers. So customers should be able to order the food online and we will deliver it. So this is my vision. So as a say we are the product owners, and then we as a team now going to see what kind of activity or sequence that you think a customer will do as part of ordering a food. So uh, maybe can anyone tell what you do if you are a customer and you want to order a pizza online? Anyone?
The system should be accessible online,
Hmm. Okay.
and can create user or
No, as a consumer, like
registration.
if. Mhm. Right.
When I do the registration,
Cool.
then I can view the menu.
Exactly right.
Yep.
That's right.
Then I
Correct.
can choose the menu.
Perfect.
Then I can choose the payment option.
Absolutely. Great.
Would select the time slot for delivery,
Right.
and then get a confirmation.
Exactly. Great. You're right. Yeah. Thanks for that. So, as a customer, if I want to order a food online, so what I will do is first I will search for the food. As you said, like, I'll visit that website and I'll search for the food. And then I will add that food, whatever I prefer, into the cart. That is the place order. And then I'll make the payment. And finally, I'll track where my order is. I'm again, this is just a simple example. So don't just stick to into it. I just want to give an overview of how a user story mapping with some simple exercise. So this is just one, maybe this is just few of the activity sequence, but I just want to give this so that you all will understand how the flows. So now what we do in the user story mapping exercises, first we will list down the activity of in a sequential manner how a customer will get into on the online portal and how we will order it. First, he will search the food and then we will add it to cart and then make the payment and then track the order. This is the sequence. Now we have identified. So all these sequence can be considered as epics. Again, there are multiple ways possible for me to search the food, right? So as you rightly said, maybe I can surf through the menu. I can search by category. I can search by entering a keyword, right? So there are many possible options like I have listed down here. For placing an order, I can add or remove to the cart. Maybe I can place the order even without registration. So for me, it may not be mandatory. I don't want my customers to register their details for ordering a pizza. What I will do is I'll let them allow, just give their billing details and billing address. That's it. You don't need to register maybe in the first step. So I'll add a remove cart. I will, allow them to order as a guest, or maybe as you said, I will give the option to register before they make the payment. So then you have lot of options under payment. As you rightly said, you have multiple options. I can pay by cash. I can pay by, when the food is delivered, I can pay by cash, or I can use my net banking, or debit card or credit card or PayPal account or any gift cards. There are n number of options available for you to make a payment. And finally, again, as part of tracking, maybe I'll just get a confirmation message or mail initially. Then maybe I can add more features, like the customers can see where my order is. For example, I place the order, then I now I'll be able to see uh, how it is getting progress. Now it is in kitchen, now it is move, it is in unpacking, now it is in transmit, so something like that. So a live tracking of your order can be possible. So these are all multiple options for me to build my website. So most important thing is, in Agile, what we are going to do is we are not going to build entire future and then deliver as a product, right? Hope you all agree. So what we'll do is first we will identify the MVP, right? So MVPs are the most critical thing which you need to have to start your business with. So if you can see that group of user stories in row number 2, I consider these are the key features that I need to start with, and then maybe I can add more features into my online portal. This is how I prioritize the um, requirements. So what we do here is we list down all the options possible based on the sequence and then discuss and see what we see as an MVP for me to initially release the product in the market and enhance and add more features in the subsequent iterations or sprints. So once we map the user stories, then you would commit to an iteration. So this is how you will see, like, in iteration one, iteration or sprint is a shorter timeline. You all will know about it maybe. If not, you can register for the Agile Scrum sessions. You will come to know more about this, what an iteration and sprint timelines are. Right. So this is how basically you will go with the user story mapping. So now uh, we will see how to split the user stories. We just experienced how to map the user stories. Maybe while we map, there may be sometimes need to break that user story because it can't be completed within a sprint timeline or iteration. So we use this spider technique to identify the pattern through which we can split the user story so that you can complete within one iteration. So S stands for spike. If there is a situation, say for example, where the development team is not sure about how to implement a feature, or maybe due to some technical complexities or some uncertainties. So what they would like to do is they want to create a spike. They want to build the prototype of the future before implementing the actual product. So please note that the spikes may not be an user story, and because we have seen, like, any user story should add value. That value element is would be missing here in a spike. So because we're just going to build a prototype, right? So spike, and then P stands for path. Let's take the example of payments. While checking out the order, we see like there are multiple options available. So I don't want to include all the options in one particular iteration. So what I will do is, again, I'll split that user stories into multiple. So I'll split based on the options available. I can pay by cash, I can pay by. So each options will be created as separate user stories. This is one way by you are splitting the user story by the options or the path which you navigated in the previous slide. And I stands for interface. Say, uh, say our motive is to enable the customers to order food online, right? So we will have different types of customers, and each one would have a different device. Someone may be having a laptop, someone maybe want to book, order online through his mobile or app. So in these situations, what you'll do is you split the user stories based on the UI interfaces. That's what I stands for. And D stands for data types. um, uh, some good example I'm thinking about. You all know about cookies or data analytics, right? So, say I want to. I'm a a restaurant owner. I want to improve my business by seeing the data or the trend um, from my online sales. So I want to generate lot of reports there through which I can see and enhance my business. So there are various reports you can get, like I want to see who are the customers are repeating to my website to order online. So I wanted to um, get to know about my loyal customers so that I can give some discounts to them. So this is one kind of report. Or I wanted to see the daily sales report, which month I have the sales or which day I have the sales in peak, either it's a weekday or weekend. Or I want to see the how many customers are satisfied in ordering food online through my portal. So there are a lot of things that you can do with the data. So again, I don't want to do every report in one sprint. So maybe I'll add the key reports. I'll split the user stories based on what I need as a business owner to first to review and take a call accordingly. So I'll prioritize those stories accordingly. So yeah, again, you're splitting the user stories based on the reports that you need. And last but not least is rules. Again, so each business, definitely you'll have some business rules. So as I told, like, I want to give some discount or special offers to a loyal customers, or maybe I want to create a rule to have the customers pick a combo offer. Or if, say for example, if the customer orders and I'm not able to deliver within 20 minutes of time, so the fee is refunded or waived. So there are a lot of business rules available again. So if there is a situation where you have lot of business rules in a one particular user story, then you try to split that user story based on the business rules. This is how we will be splitting the user stories. So all we need to keep in mind is, so if you can refer this cake, visualizing slicing the cake, we always will slice the cake vertically and not horizontally, right? So as depicted in the picture, vertical piece would have all the, like, front end, middleware and data layers. If you cut the cake horizontally, meaning, like, you'll have all these things built in. Say a payment option with one store, you'll be having all these things built in and you are delivering it. But rather than, if you're cutting the cake horizontally, what you will do is, in one sprint you will deliver only web page. There won't be any connectivity to the backend, or you don't have any service created which will actually interact with other system. Do you think this will add value? No. So that's why it is always best to use this model or concept to split your user stories. Uh, right? Any questions so far?
No, it's clear. Thank you.
Great, thank you. A quick time check, Sundar. I believe we are on time. So, anyone want to have a quick break, or you want to okay to continue with this estimation, guys, folks? Yep. Okay. So let's talk about briefly how we estimate the user stories. I want to keep this discussion very short and sweet. The only reason behind this, again, we have dedicated sessions planned in APGI space in the upcoming months for agile estimation. So you will have really very good detailed information if you register for that session. So please watch the APGI space. We talked about these themes, epics, user stories earlier. So usually the larger requirements like a theme or epic, you will generally we will estimate based on the t-shirt size model. We all know, like, it can be XS, small, medium, large, extra large. So that's how we estimate the larger requirements other than user stories. If we use story points to estimate a user story, I'll talk about like how we estimate shortly. But what we do is, look, we play a game called a planning poker with the team to get the user stories estimated. As I told, like, all these planning poker, how you estimate all these stuff will be discussed in detail in the next session. Story points are generally a number from the Fibonacci series, and you would assign to the user story based on the relative estimation technique. Uh, Many would have doubt why we need to have the Fibonacci series and why just not with the regular numbers. Right. There are reasons behind it, because Fibonacci series is non-linear. It's exponential, like if you see here, 1, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, etc., and composed of integers. Say, for example, the team is estimating a user story, and if we have the option to assign any numbers, then it is really difficult for me to decide or choose between 5, 6, and 7, because it is so close, right? So it creates complexity to assign a number to it. So that's why we choose the Fibonacci series. You have this range concept built in the sequence itself. For example, if you come up with story points of 8, then it means that you are somewhere in the range between 5, something like that, and 5 and 13. If you come up with a story point of 13, then it means you're ranging between 8 and 21. So it gives you the flexibility of picking between the range. So that is why we use Fibonacci series for assigning the user stories, right? So there is a term called velocity. Velocity, it is nothing but the sum of user story points that team delivered in a sprint or iteration. Say, for example, um, I pick some 10 stories to deliver in a sprint, and each story will have its own user story points. And if I sum all together, if it is coming, say, 35, so 35 is the velocity. What I do is I add all these story points, and then the sum of these story point is termed as velocity. Great. This is what briefly about the user estimation. And you might have seen this Scrum framework. So I want to quickly present this and explain how the user story fits in this flow, right? So we have talked about, this is just to summarize, we have talked about user stories and all. Now I want to visualize how the user story fits into this Scrum model so that we'll have a better understanding. If you see the product backlog, that's in the left, extreme left, that's where you will have all your larger requirements. If you could see, I could hold my mouse over. So this product backlog, this is where you have all the larger requirements, right, from teams, epics, user stories, right? So the next is the sprint planning meeting. So in the sprint planning meeting, uh, you pick up a card from that product backlog to converse with the team and add confirmation to it so that you can pull it in the sprint backlog. So this can be also done as part of a story development session. So story development session is another informal event. So it's not there in the Scrum guidebook, but still it is good to have based on your need. So what you will do is like in this story development session, you pick up the stories from the backlog and you converse and you confirm and keep it ready so that it can be picked up in the next sprint. So that's how you are, keeping the backlog maintained properly. So during the sprint, what I will do is I'll pick up that user story, complete the technical task, whatever I have specified. And then finally, if you can see here, sprint review, that's a formal event specified in the Scrum guidebook. What you will do there is you will actually demonstrate the working software. You all know like each user story will have some acceptance criteria. So you run through that acceptance criteria with the business stakeholders to confirm that yes, I have built the right product. Everything is perfect. So if everything is all right and the business owner is happy, you will be adding that increment to the live version. There is a term called DOD, if you can see here, right down in the right bottom. So it's definition of done. In addition to the acceptance criteria are acceptance criteria are specific to each future. Like you will have your own future, your own acceptance criteria for say fund transfer or adding a beneficiary. Each of these user story will have their own acceptance criteria. Whereas if you see this DOD is applicable for all the user stories. It can be common for all the user stories. We have DOD defined upfront before the development begins and applies to all the user stories within a sprint. um, you can say like it's a checklist, and one aspect of that checklist can be quality. As part of DOD, what I will do is I'll check whether the code is peer reviewed, whether the unit tests are passed, whether all the non-functional requirements are met, like the stability of the application. If there are huge number of users accessing the online portal, ordering on the same time in parallel, so whether my system will be stable enough to accommodate all their requests. And then maybe some security checks. You will scan against some vulnerabilities and whether your code meets the industry standards like that. So this is actually a DOD, right? Okay, any questions? Okay, so user story format finally. So we have talked enough about user stories. Let's see how actually it could look like, the format of user story. There would be many templates available, but I would like to show the most widely used Connextra template here. I like this template because it represents an informal natural language description of the future in a product. Let's see how it is structured. So it says that as a type of user, I want to do something, do some goal so that I will gain so some reasons behind it. So let's see with example, right? So add a beneficiary is an example here. As a customer, okay, I want to add a beneficiary so that I can transfer fund. So this is a simple user story. And another thing I want to highlight is the so that clause is not always mandatory as per my con. I also agree with that because it is not always applicable when you write a user story. A classic example would be here. Uh, as a customer, I want to transfer funds so that definitely you don't need to call out that, right? It can be optional. So I want to transfer fund for a number of reasons, my personal reasons. So I don't want to highlight that here. So there are cases where you can actually give that reason behind your goal, or you can leave it optional based on the user story that you are writing. Great. This is the user story format. So what we will do is we have gone through this mapping exercise, right? So maybe since we have time now, so I believe we can take some time and each one of you can come up with some user stories. Feel free to unmute your line and you can either share your user stories for any of these. You come up with the template, whatever we have seen, Connextra template, convert this user story into that template and we can see how it is coming, right? So um, you can either chat you can ping that user story format in the chat, or if you want to call that out, unmute your line, and please feel free to um, talk. So nothing wrong in coming up with some user story formats. So don't worry about it. We all are
Okay.
learning. It's a learning phase. Yeah.
Absolutely, Kasi. So that's a good one. So probably, guys, if everyone is okay, we'll take 5 minutes. Let's stay on call. Give a thought through of the scenario what Kasi has posted. Take a piece of paper, post it. Try to craft some story format, and probably an unusual line, and then we can quickly run through of the understanding of what we have learned today. That'll be have a good conversation as well. So 5 minutes from now, if everyone is okay with that,
Yep.
brilliant.
Great. Great, guys. Okay. I'll mute myself and will quickly grab a cup of water.
Probably if anyone is ready with their story, can unmute your line if that's okay.
I wrote some line. So it's like, as a customer, I can search for food of my choice
Mhm.
on online portal. Okay.
Great.
Next one is, as a customer, I can place order as a guest user.
Excellent. Great.
As a customer, I can register to online portal so that I can utilize the service provided by portal.
Great.
Uh, as a customer, I can add or remove the food orders in cart. And
Nice.
next one is, as a customer, I can make payment to food portal so that delivery process can be begin.
Great.
And last one
Excellent, Arun.
is, as a customer, I can track my order.
Excellent. Great. So, what do you feel like, while you are coming up with this story, Arun? So do you feel like, the regular way of writing the requirement in our earlier days, than like, writing with this in this format? What do you feel is best, and what do you see as a benefit out of writing in this format? Are you able to send
Yeah,
something?
in this format, what I'm able to visualize that I feel like a customer, like whatever
Exactly.
requirement I have, so it make more clarity what
Exactly.
challenges customer can face.
Correct. Very true. So it's like, a customer centric way. These conversations are written in a way that it's natural language anyone can understand, right? So very less possibilities of a developer or this development team misinterpreting this, right? Yeah. Anyway, you're going to converse this user story, whatever you have written in the card, that will be picked up for conversation. So you eliminate that misinterpretation as well there. That's great. Cool, Arun. Yeah, nice. Anyone else?
Sure, sir. So I would say that as a customer, I can search for a food item based on its category, so that I can add that product. I can add that food item into my cart, and
Great.
then as a buyer, I can see the list of food items under searched category, so that I can add that item to the cart, because I need to see the list of the of the searched items. Then as a
Hmm.
guest buyer, I can proceed to add items to my cart, and then proceed to checkout process, so that I can place the order without registering on the website. If it's a guest checkout, on the first time you are
Right.
just placing an order with this guest checkout, and you'll get the details on your email, like the
Right.
username or
Yeah.
say a system generated password.
Mm.
Then I would say as a buyer, or as a guest buyer or a customer, uh, I can uh, I can pay for the products which I've added in my cart, so that I can complete the order process. And
Perfect.
then I can, as a buyer, I get a confirmation email of the order which I've placed, so that I'm sure that my
Right.
order has been placed successfully.
Excellent. Excellent. Great. Yeah. Cool. Very nice. So now you understand, like, for each event, which future you are adding a user story, right? For
Right.
excellent. Right. Great. Nice. Try, Stuti.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah. Hi, Kasi.
Hi.
Uh, I have written some stories. Actually,
Yes,
this can
Durga.
be elaborated. But I have written like as a customer, I want to view categories of food to select.
Cool.
As a customer, I want to view the list of food items in
Mm,
each category.
mm,
And as a customer, I can select my choice and add it to cart.
perfect. Yeah.
As a customer, I can select my delivery address.
Right.
And as a customer, I can check out from cart.
Mm-hmm.
And as a customer, I can select the payment method.
Mm-hmm.
And after
Very good.
that, as a customer, I can get confirmation of my booking.
Mm-hmm.
As a
Great.
customer, yeah. So these are the stories I have written, but I could write more on this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. So as I told, in your card, the user story can be like, very have can
past,
have
yeah,
just enough information which you can discuss in detail with the development team, and converse with them to add
right,
more details.
absolutely.
That's perfect. There's nothing wrong in being very short or descriptive. That's good. Good try, Durga. Yeah,
Thanks.
cool. Anyone else?
Well, I think everything has been said, but then I said as a user,
Yeah.
I want to see the menu list
Okay.
so that I can select my product.
Cool.
As a
Yeah,
user,
it is.
yeah, as a user, I want to register. That's if you don't have a if you're not already registered.
Mm,
As a user, I want to select payment method so
mm,
that I can make a payment. As
cool.
a user, I want to select my postcode
Mm.
and enter my address, my house number, so that I can. I mean, that doesn't need any. I mean,
Very
just
good.
to,
Very good.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's
and
right. So you'll get
yeah,
the order delivered to your address. So that's
exactly.
that's
Then
very good. Yeah. Good.
yeah,
Cool.
and then
Yeah.
as a user, I want to receive confirmation of my order
Mm,
after making payment.
nice. Yeah. Great. Great user stories all. That's the way that we would be thinking, how to write user stories, a high level statement to a small features so that the development team can actually pick up what we need in a sprint. So all are very good examples you have tried. That's great. Cool. If anyone want to try some more, yeah, please feel free to. And this is just one example of a food website. So you can think about uh, the projects that you're working on based on the business needs. You can also try offline. That's great. Okay. All I wanted to tell is like, how to think about writing a user story. And we have some great techniques which we learned a few minutes before, like how to map the user stories, how to split it if it is a larger in size, and how to estimate. So yeah, great, cool. It's nice, team. Okay. So let's move on to the question and answer section, and I'm happy to address any questions from any one of you.
Now, can we see the user story for the question and answers?
Uh-huh. Great. Say, okay. Let me see. As a facilitator, I want to hear some questions so that I can understand your um, understand me, so that I can and clarify your questions to have a better understanding.
Thank you.
Good. So yeah,
Sure. So I have one question. So how do we rate like the user stories? So the user story points. So what are the parameters on the basis of which we give the user story points to a user story?
great. Yeah, it's a great question. So when you see the user story, you should be estimating based on three factors. One is how large you have to see the size of the user story, how large it is. Say for example, you're creating a web page, right? Let's see this um, add a beneficiary thing. So how many fields you have, how many fields you need to have that in the UI. So size is one aspect. Second thing is complexity. How complex is that in terms of technicality? Like, you need to have, a very niche skill, niche technology to implement, to use in order to implement that feature. So basically size is one thing, how complex technically is other factor, and the third one is what are all the uncertainties or risks involved. So you pick the user story, right? Payment option. So my user story is, I want to, as a customer, I want to use my PayPal account to make the payment. So PayPal account is something is an outside third party, right? So rather than when you compare the user story of making a payment by cash or by using your net banking, it is definitely there are some uncertainties around using the third party. So you have to see in all these three aspects: size of the work, complexity of the work, and finally if there are any uncertainties and risks. So these are the three factors I would suggest to think about while estimating the user story.
Sure. So do we consider any I have read it somewhere or I have attended the other like other some tutorial video tutorials. They say that
Mhm.
you consider the uh, testing efforts and the designing efforts as well while rating a user story. So do
Abs-
we do that?
Absolutely. So as I told, we have seen this vertical slicing and all, right? So
Yeah.
when I
Mm-hmm.
say a user story, when I say a development
Mm-hmm.
team consists of front-end developers, middleware developers, backend developers, designers, or testers, whomever I need to be, they need to be part of the team in order to build this software. So all their efforts would be considered as part of estimating. So that's why we play a planning poker game. So everyone will be given a card, and then they will be choosing they will be showing their estimate number, and it would be discussed further in detail if you're not getting some consensus. So I didn't elaborate much because the only reason is we have a dedicated session for estimation, agile estimation. So I wanted to keep it short.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
but
Okay.
great question, Astri.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yes, sir. What's the in some cases we see that apart from epics and we see theme, apart from epics, yeah, we see features. So what is the
Mhm.
difference between a feature and an epic?
So future or user story are the subset of an epic. Um, if I can navigate through to the examples here, right? So I told you, like, search food can be an epic because there are multiple options or ways that you can, again, searching food, as I told you, like you can search the food by grouping by categories, or you can search it by entering the keyword. So these yellow color boxes are user stories or futures, and the group of these user stories are part of this search food, which is an epic.
Okay.
So yeah, futures are user stories are subset of epics. So basically you will break down that epic to come up with futures or user stories.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Yes. Good question.
Kashi, I have one query. Like,
Yes, please.
suppose while working on user story, some deviation comes up. Like
Hmm.
payment, some payment method has been chosen, and now it deviated to something else. So,
Okay. When you say
how we,
deviated,
yeah.
uh,
So there impact on user story point as well. So how we, what are the corrective action for these kind of scenarios?
cool. If I understand your question correctly, what you say is, say, for example, as a team, we decide that we will implement this particular user story, debit card or credit card. Okay. So this is the user story that we say we committed. But later, while we execute this sprint, the product owner or the business comes and says that, hey guys, no, there is a change in the payment option. So let's not do with the debit or credit card for whatever reason it may be. Let's go with the internet banking. So are you asking this thing?
Yeah, yeah.
If the scope is changed, right?
Yes, correct.
Correct. So there may be a possibility of when you pick up some feature and while you are executing it, there may be some possibilities where the business comes and says that, okay, come on guys, the world has changed, the business, the model has changed, so we need to. This is not going to add any value to the product. So what the product owner will do is he will discuss with the team, and then the product owner will make the decision, and then we'll prioritize. If there is a need to drop this particular user story, we will drop this user story completely, and then we will pick up this internet banking as an alternative. So definitely this would impact. Say for example, you go to a restaurant and you order any dish, right? So once you place the order, immediately you changed your mind and you call the server or waiter and say that, okay, hey boss, I sorry, I don't want to have this dish. Can you get me something else, right? So if you are
Yeah,
communicating that early, then there is not much impact. What you do is here, you ordered the food and the food is in progress, or the server or the waiter, he comes and delivers the food. At that time, if you are telling that, hey, I want a different dish, definitely there's a cost involved, there's time involved, right? So that's the situation with sprint, with agile user stories as well. So if you committed some user stories to a sprint, that's why we have shorter sprint duration, right? So if you committed something to a sprint, most probably that would not change, but if there is a change, yeah, we are flexible, we adapt to that change, but there is definitely some cost involved.
okay, yeah. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Arun. Good question. Great. Any more from anyone? Okay, I take the silence as no, but if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And as an agile coach, I want to hear the feedback from you on this session so that I can improve myself and connect a better session. So thank you all, and really appreciate your effort, time that you have committed to on a Sunday evening. Really appreciate. Thank you all. Thanks for your time. And you can reach out to me in my email, kasi.arun.uk@gmail.com, and I have given my LinkedIn profile as well here. Great. Thank you all, and
Great,
Thank,
Kasi.
Thanks.
thank,
Thank you
Thanks.
for the
thank,
insightful session. So as Kasi did mention, guys, it and girls probably, it'd be very helpful if you can share the feedback on UVCT where you have registered the session for, as retrospective is one of the key factor for us to improve and then provide better sessions in the upcoming webinars. So as said, so we are concluding it today, but watch out. There have been exciting sessions lined up till end of this year. The next session is on Agile certifications, which is coming up on 4th of October. So soon, Sri will be rolling out the session on UVCT. Watch out more on it, and then we'll be glad. We're going to have one of our APGI member who's going to run the session as well to talk about more about Agile certifications, which is going to be further more insightful as well. So thanks again, guys, for joining us on a Sunday evening, wherever you're from, and spending 60 minutes of your valuable time. Hope everyone had a good takeaways on user stories. Stay safe. Good luck. Thank you, everyone, again. Bye.
Thank you all. Thanks. Cheers. Bye.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank
all.
you.
Bye bye. Cheers.